Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are here with another Hunter x Hunter review and breakdown. And first, I just want to apologize. I know I sounded like very complainy in our last episode, but I was just frustrated, man. I wanted the goods. They just felt like they were doing so much that didn't really need to get done. But it is what it is. Shit has now hit the fan, and it's fight night. So we're gonna kick off with episode 113, and the episode starts right where the last one left off, but not exactly where we want it to be. Like, we wanted to know what was going on with the king and Netero and Zeno and all that, but we're actually going back to Yuppie after he destroyed the staircase. Everybody's fucked up. Well, not exactly. Melioron and Knuckle are fine. They're still, invisible because of Melioron. Shoot, on the other hand, now has a broken leg and is covered in wounds. And Moral is exhausted. I guess while, the dust that got kicked up from the destruction of the staircase, Moral used that as an excuse to, spread his smoke and mix it in. So it made it easier for him to spread his smoke. And somehow he has enough N to still use Deep Purple. He sends, 30 soldiers at Yopi, and Yopi just whips them to pieces and they're all dead. He is stupid strong. Moral comes in out of the smoke after using that to distract him and goes to hit him with his pipe, and this dude straight just grows another arm to block it. And then because the fact that he's actually has to block the attack, he thought it was really Moral, so he attacks it, but it turns out it's just another smoke clone. Moral actually gave up his weapon to try and get a hit on him, and it didn't work. So Moral tries to run and grab his pipe, only to almost get killed. Well, Shoot, on the other hand, has leveled up apparently. Shoot, he has the three floating fists that attack people. He is using one to support his legs because one of his legs is broken. So he's flying around on one of his fists, which he's never done before, while using the other two fists to attack along with his own body. He, I don't know why he does this either, but he takes his cape hood thing and ties it off, covering one of his eyes, actually making it harder for him to fight because it's making him feel more alive. I don't know what happened. He went from being anxiety ridden to giving himself more of a challenge. Now, Gon and Killua managed to dodge Yuppie's attack, and when they dodged Yuppie's attack, they took off. They actually go by a cargo in Flutter's body as he's trying to race toward the elevator to go and look for Palm. But something happens. When Gon and Killua get ahead of him, they go up the staircase to go look for Pitou, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees two soldier ants in front of the elevator. And for whatever reason, he doesn't even think, his body just moves. Killua splits off from Gon and launches at these ants. Immediately, he pulls out his yo-yos, and the way they did it was really, really interesting because the narrator is talking us through what's going on because Killua has no idea what he's doing. He just knows that he just pulled out his yo-yos and took both of these ants' heads right off. So that way they wouldn't be able to communicate. And then he transforms his hands into those claws that he sometimes does and rips their arms off so their bodies can't move because, how some insects can move without a head? He wanted to make sure they weren't able to fight. He runs by them, makes it to the end of the hallway. They're now dead. He turns back around and runs after Gon. And he is all types of confused at the fact that he just did that. He's always been the one to prioritize the mission first. And he is literally confused as he's trying to run back to Gon. We see that Welfin was actually at the end of the hallway and saw Killua jump out. But stayed hidden because he didn't know how to get attacked too. I guess the two ants that he killed managed to actually send a signal before he even took off their heads. Now, Ikalgo comes down the other way, and as Ikalgo's coming down the other way, they run past each other, and he basically tells Killua that he owes him one. Not exactly sure why. I mean, if one of you guys could explain that in the comments, maybe that'll help. But maybe he brought Killua back to his senses. I was very confused with that. It happened so fast. But Killua ends up chasing after Gon, and Ikalgo goes down, still in Flutter's body, to the elevator. Thing is, when he gets to the elevator, Welfin sees him, and it's just like, This don't make sense. How did you get here so fast? You would have had to pass by the intruder. Also, out of both sides of him, the doors open on the end of the hallway, and here comes Pitou out of one and Bluster out of the other. Bluster is the shrimp with the Gatling guns. We jump over to Showerpoof. Showerpoof is in the throne room having, a mental breakdown because he realizes that he messed up. Not only does he feel like a failure as a royal guard for not being able to protect the king during this attack, he doesn't even know who the king is. And he literally starts bawling his eyes out because he's a failure as a royal guard. Then he balls out even more because he realizes he's not just a failure for failing the king. He's a failure because he made the choice to fail the king. Because he knows what the king is. He knows the king is with Komugi, and he doesn't want the king to be there. He doesn't want the king to take his time to go and visit a human in her room. And by coming here when he should have went there, he chose to basically betray the king. And he is destroying himself over it. And he starts talking all types of shit to himself. Well, while this is happening, he's getting surrounded by smoke, and here comes Moral. Poof is completely out of his head right now, and he tries to leave, but he's trapped because of Moral's smoke. So he spreads his wings and is about to fight Moral, and he what's the word I'm looking for? Starts releasing his scales all over the area they're in, and gets ready to fight. The last thing we see is the king walking out with Zeno and Netero as Gon makes it outside. Gon makes it outside. He sees Moral's smoke jail, I think they call it? Smoke prison? Smoky jail, that's the one. He sees the smoky jail. He's like, okay, so the king's not there because he's going to use that to keep Poof away from the king. And then he sees him walk out across from the tower. And as he's walking by, Netero points back, basically telling him that Pitou's in there. And we just see Gon's dark silhouette. And then it zooms in on Gon and we see this face. I'm worried our boy is gone. I want to see what happens when he gets to Pitou. But that's where the episode ends. And yeah. Gon's ready to do his shit. Kilo is still catching up. Now, episode 114 starts off with clips of everybody fighting. It shows Shoot fighting Yuppie, dodging Yuppie's attacks with his hands while still trying to attack. Melioron and Knuckle are still watching this happen. Moral is still trying to trap Showerpoof. And we see, the king with Netero and Zeno. And he tells me to take me away. I know that's what you want to do. And Zeno charges up a big Nen attack and makes the dragon again from when they first invaded. And Meruem grabs its leg with his tail. Netero sits on it, and they just go. He doesn't make a fuss about it. He just was like, let's just go. We jump back over to Icaligo talking to Pitou and Bluster, yeah. And he tells them that he's going down because he has orders from Hage. Pitou has a new ability. He wants to go test it and try to find out who's attacking. Bluster just doesn't give a shit. They see the dragon launch into the sky, and Pitou takes off. Flutter goes down, but as he goes down, both Bluster and Welfin still in the corner hiding behind these guys. They didn't see him. They're just like, did he just say Hage? Flutter was Layle's most loyal fucking person. So if anybody's going to know about his name change, it's obviously going to be him, but he still called him Hage. So they immediately get suspicious of him. We jump over to Moral and Showerpoof, and now his wing scales are all over the place. We thought that the only power his wing scales had was the ability to hypnotize somebody. Turns out it's not. Moral is holding his breath to keep from breathing it in and getting hypnotized. All while this is happening, he is actually reading the mental state of his opponent, which is apparently his actual ability called Spiritual Message. So his vigilance, his strengths, his weaknesses, his confidence level, all of it. He starts reading all of it, and as he's trying to talk to him, Moral's not responding, but Showerpoof's picking up on the changes in his demeanor and the changes in his brain, I guess. And he ends up actually just wrapping himself in a cocoon and just like, I'm going to transform and then attack you. And Moral's like, dope, I'll just wait. Moral's exhausted. Remember, he came in at this at 30%. So the less he has to fight, the better. Now we jump back over to Yopi and Shoot. And Shoot is doing the best he can. But he is dodging attacks by like the skin of his butt. Like he's already all covered it up in cuts. His hair gets sliced open. His clothes are in tatters. He manages to get one hand on Yopi and trap one of his eyes inside his hotel Rafflesia, and this like messes with Yopi because of the fact that he feels like this dude did some damage to him, and Yopi is getting really really mad. And the whole time this is happening, poor Knuckle has to sit there and watch, and he can't do anything about it because he needs APR to gather as much interest as it can without him getting found out. But then he looks at APR, and APR only ticked up like twice. This entire fight that's been happening has only happened in the span of 10 seconds since he hit him. Actually, he managed to hit him twice, but the amount of interest he owes, is only up to like, I think it was only up to like just past 600. Knuckle actually goes to try and hit Yopi to not only save Shoot, but to try and gain more, give him more nen, so that way it racks up in APR. Meliorone stops him, bringing Knuckle back to his senses, and he thinks it's because he's trying to stop him from attacking him. It's like no, he's about to breathe, and then he's gonna know they're there, and he actually gets smacked by one of Yopi's arms by accident. Yopi didn't even feel him, but because that hit was so strong, it took out almost the entirety of what he owed in one shot. So Knuckle had to back off, but now Meliorone has to breathe, and APR becomes visible. Yopi tries to attack it, but Shoot is still trying to attack him. He actually turns around and morphs his body in the weirdest way, but basically shoots out like hundreds of spikes out at Shoot from out of his back, and he does them super fast. And Shoot does the coolest thing where he attacks himself with his fists to gain the speed to move out of the way, because otherwise he would have got hit. Now, Shoot is still getting all just brutalized to the point where Knuckle can't hold it anymore, and he leaves Meliorone and jumps out and tells Yopi, I'm here. And basically Yopi now knows this isn't another opponent. And that's where 114 basically ends. 115 kicks back in, and we jump back to Ikago. Now he's at the bottom of the elevator, and we actually get to see that he can actually use Flutter's Nen ability, even though he's inside of a corpse, which is cool. We get an explanation about this elevator from the narrator, because I'm guessing it becomes important. Basically, everybody who goes down this elevator is fine, but anybody who goes up has to go one at a time. And based on their body weight, they have their own code, which is some super advanced security. But if somebody steals your code, they kill you and the person who stole your code. Well, Ikago goes searching for Palm. I guess it starts trying to show how much conviction he has about saving Palm. He starts explaining how she's one of their friends, so because she's one of his friend's friend, she's now his friend, and the usual stuff in a shonen anime. Well, Blosser is now suspicious of Ikago Flutter, so he follows him down in the elevator. Wellfin goes after her and starts sniffing around the elevator, and he makes a comment about Flutter's scent being awful, and he's wondering if he spent time in a morgue. We all know that he's actually dead. He's able to smell Bloster, but then he also smells something else, but he can't put his finger on it because it's too slight of a scent. But then his brain starts clicking in, and he's trying to understand why, if Bloster was suspicious of Flutter, why he didn't just stop him, why he waited till after and then went after him. And he starts thinking that Bloster is in on it, and Bloster's going to ambush him as soon as he goes down, so he doesn't go down. Now, we jump back over to now Zeno meeting Killua and Gon, because they jumped across after, and then Netero and Meruem left. And, he takes a look at Killua, realizes that he's different. He already knows that he pulled the pen out. And he tells Killua one thing. He's like, when you get upstairs, you decide what to do. And then he leaves. He's like, I have no other information outside of what I was tasked to do, which apparently was to help Netero separate the king from the royal guard, which he has now done. Now, with half the episode over and not much happening, we go back over to Yopi's fight. And now that Yopi sees Knuckle, he realizes, okay, so this thing is floating around in his knuckles. He tries to attack it again, makes his arms into blades, like beats the shit out of it, and realizes, okay, cool, nothing happens to this, so I'm not going to worry about it. He ends up chasing after Knuckle. Knuckle tries to lead him away from Shoot, because Shoot's all types of fucked up. Melioron walks away from them because, Melioron's like central to the plan. If he gets hurt, it's a wrap. And Shoot finally drops. He's exhausted, he's bleeding out, and he's literally trying to crawl himself, and he's like, I can't even pass out, because if I pass out, then Hotel Rafflesia is going to release that eye, and now this dude's going to be up to 100%. He's like, every wound, no matter how small, is going to add up eventually. And you just see his conviction, and it was a pretty moving scene. And Melioron's right there and can't help him, because if he disappears, Yobi's going to know something's up, and their whole plan is just destroyed. So he ends up leaving and tries to go and find everybody else to see if he can help anybody else. He makes it into a room where he looks up and he sees the Smoky Joe. He's like, okay, there's Moro, but where's Gon and Killua? So he jumps into a courtyard and tries to find Gon and Killua. This is another one of those scenes that I was just like, why is this even here? But I guess it had to happen. But he tries to catch his breath as he's going through the courtyard, and he runs into Welfin, and Welfin starts sniffing around because Welfin is trying to find Beezef. When he was worried about the conspiracy, he realized that he needs to find Beezef, because if Beezef's dead, then his whole plan to become the shadow leader is up in smoke, because he was supposed to get the credit of helping Beezef find the bomb. So while he's sniffing around the courtyard, Melioron needs to take a breath. He can't hold his breath any longer. He goes into a corner, and in one shot breathes out, and then breathes in as fast as he can and reactivates his God's Accomplice. Or Perfect Plan. They bounce back between the names. But this doesn't get by Welfin's nose. He manages to smell it. And as soon as he does, even though he doesn't see him, he jumps back and activates his Nen ability, which is apparently called Missile Man. And he calls out to whoever's back there. He's like, come out, or I'm just going to blow you to smithereens. And he launches his Missile Man. I guess his Nen ability is as suspicious as he is, because the way it works is he loads the rounds up with a question, and when they get to the target, the target has to answer the question. And if they lie or anything like that, they get blown up. But he shoots it, and there's no target there because Melioron's already gone. I guess if Melioron had stayed there, it would have found him regardless if he was invisible or not, because that's how his Nen ability works. But Welfin realizes, he starts bugging out. He's like, I guess whoever was here is gone. But he ends up smelling unscented deodorant. And he realized that somebody knew about his nose, so they were trying to hide their scent. And he realized that it must be another ant who would know that he was there. So he starts thinking, if there's already traitors among us, like, should I even be on the side of the King and the Royal Guards if there's already people trying to go against them? Like, what should I do? And he's, like, having a midlife crisis. But again, he's a very minor character, so I don't know what's actually going to happen with him. But the end of this episode is Gon. Well, Killua catches up to Gon. I'm sorry. We already established that. Killua had caught up to Gon before they saw Zeno. I'm sorry, that was right at the end. That was right before, at the start of the episode. That was my bad. I was speeding through. But they get into the room with Pitou, and Gon sees Pitou, and as he's walking up to Pitou, Pitou looks back and sees Gon, and we get this last shot of Gon, and then the thumbnail I use is the very last scene of the episode, where Gon's just so full of rage. And the next episode, hopefully, fingers crossed, or finally get to see what happens when Gon and Pitou actually interact. I hope I'm ready for this. But I tried to speed through this one, guys. I know the last couple breakdowns have been kind of long. But this is it. We're done. And I hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you to everybody who stuck it with me through all these episodes. There's been a shitload, and we're almost done with Hunter x Hunter. We've only got 30 episodes left around there. I think 33, 34. But that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next video. Later.